All right, everybody. We're here with the assistant desk. Got a really good guest, but first off, we're not in the studio. We are on the road. We are in the hotel doing kind of things that we've always been talking about of recruiting, grinding, being on the road, different hotel rooms, living out of a suitcase, right? But first off, I want to thank everybody that's been listening, everybody that's been liking, reposting, sharing, on all the platforms, social media, YouTube, everything. It helps, and we really appreciate you guys. Right? Today we have a very good friend and a coworker, and someone who I, admire a lot. He's a two-time national champion in college. He has had a pretty good coaching track so far, and one of my best friends, Christian Thomas.
Thank you guys for having me. Excited to finally get on the podcast. Excited to be the first live guest on the podcast.
Right. Outside of studio.
Outside, back into a hotel that we've been in numerous times together. So, thrilled to be on here. So thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right. Well, I feel like we should just get right into it.
Okay. Guys, I'm ready to rock.
The lighting that we made here might go down as soon as everyone.
Yeah, what people won't see is all the effort that went into setting this whole thing up, and us three together trying to do it was, let's say, an interesting chain of events.
Oh, for sure.
The fact that we got it to where it is pretty good.
Yeah. I think we're well lit here. I think this is working.
We did good.
Yeah, I think we did a good job. Did a good job. All right. So now you're coaching guys that have probably seen your highlight tape when they were in high school, right? Does that make you feel old or cool?
I would say a little bit of both. I would say mostly the old part now. I feel like I'm constantly telling people now how many years I've been out of college, and every time I say it, it makes me feel a little weird. But it's always funny when they talk about that or whatnot, because I think a lot of these guys, and I grew up doing the same thing. We'll just find random highlights and watch them, and it's always cool watching of people that
Right.
and so I'm sure at some point that they've had a laugh with each other while they've been hanging out. So for me, it's funny to hear all those stories of them talking about it, and then it kind of reminds me of like, oh wow, that was a while ago. No one was that.
It only gets further.
Yeah,
you can get further and further away from it, and it gets harder and harder. People have said it on different podcasts with us, and we joke about it all the time. And you got a wedding coming up, and it's like, I coached this little knucklehead many, many years ago, and now to go to your wedding is wild, right? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, listen, I got out of college and I went right to your wedding that first year. So it was like, now kind of having it be my setup is wild. It's like
it's reciprocated.
Yeah.
It's reciprocated.
I feel like almost an adult. It's great.
Well, it's not get crazy.
Yeah.
Not too much. Not too much.
It's not get too crazy.
Not too much. I mean, when it is funny that I get to ask you questions and you can't go anywhere right now. This is great. Kind of like off the cuff, but like when you look back from playing, right, and then getting into the coaching, like I know your father was a coach for many years, right? Coaching's in your blood. Was there ever a second that you thought, I'm not going to coach? Or was it all in no matter what from like the first day you got to play sports?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it was always in my mind. My dad coached hockey at Babson for like 10 or so years. So some of my early life, me and my brother's early life, was going to the rink, watching Babson hockey games, hanging out in the locker room, and just being around all his players. And we loved every minute of that. And he did too. And I saw the relationship that he had with his players and, the parents of those players, some of which that he still kept in touch with to this day. He'll go watch his former players' kids go play sports. And I always thought that was a really cool thing, and definitely a thing that made me want to get into coaching. And I would say, for the coaching aspect for me, I always knew that I wanted to coach. To what extent, I didn't really know. I actually went to college initially thinking I wanted to be a physical therapist. So two semesters of exercise science that dream fell short very fast for me. Yeah. So at that moment, I was like, well, I've always liked coaching, and what if I tried to make a career out of it? And I think at that time, I knew a lot of people who were in that profession, obviously a lot of my former mentors, um, and how much they enjoyed being around it and how much I idolized a lot of them. And I was like, that would be a really cool thing for me. One, just being someone who likes to compete. And I think being in, the arena still in that setting is really cool, but also the relationship that you get with, your peers also in the office, but the players, watching them grow and see how they, turn out in their adult lives. And, hopefully being in a spot where you have a relationship with them afterwards, I think is something that always kind of drew me to coaching it in whatever I'd say level. So
What's one of like, what was probably the hardest thing for you? Because your first coaching gig, right? And for those who don't know, was at Merrimack where you played. You go into summer thinking you want to get into coaching or knowing you want to get into coaching. And then it's at Merrimack and you're coming back not as a student going to a dorm room, you're coming to an office. Like, what's like the hardest thing that you yourself had to like kind of draw a line, or what was the hardest thing about quickly being a player at the same place that you were coaching at first?
I would say, at first I wasn't really sure how it was going to go because obviously I played with pretty much everyone on that team as the freshman,
Right.
so that they were the only ones who knew me as just coach at that moment.
Right.
And so I kind of went into it not really knowing what to expect, but I would say, I was lucky enough to have that group of guys below me on those teams who were super respectful early on. They treated me like a coach. Obviously, like the first week or whatever, they were kind of busting my chops a little bit. Now that I'm not on the field playing anymore and calling me washed and all those things. But at the end of the day, my relationship with them as friends and teammates at the time, they saw that I obviously cared about them and the team itself. And so, when we were in that professional setting of being on the field, being in, the office and the locker room, whatever it was with the guys, they would call me coach and, they'd listen. And, so I felt it was pretty seamless for the most part. And we obviously came into a staff that, I had obviously known, so was familiar with that as well. And so I think everyone around me kind of just helped me acclimate as best as I could in that situation. But it's certainly funny when you're coaching guys that you've just been playing with for the last 4 years, one being one of my teammates that was in my grade who happened to be a 6 year at the time. So that was even funnier too.
Weird dynamic, right? Like,
yeah,
you're kind of stuck. Like, I gotta tell you what to do, but
yeah, it was.
I need you to listen to me a little bit.
Luckily, he didn't really need much advice on anything, so he was kind of, we were just talking and to make sure he was doing good with everything, and he was a captain for the team as well, so he understood all those things and was I'd say a great person to be the one that was in my grade that I could, coach at that time. But, it was certainly an interesting dynamic. So,
well, so you've won 2 national championships as a player, right? So, like, how often, and going back to that kind of point that you just made, how often do you have to remind the guys, like, hey, listen, I know what I'm talking about here. Like, just listen to me. Like, being so close to graduating and going back and being at Merrimack coaching, like, just listen, it's right here. The proof's right here. You know what I mean? Do you ever have to, like, how often do you have to do that with some guys?
I would say I very much try not to ever talk about myself with the guys as players. Like I said, sometimes they'll bring it up as jokes with me and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I've had some great coaching advice from some coaches, and a lot of it being like everyone's a different type of player, and so for me, I just want to make sure that those guys are maximizing whatever they can be at their potential.
Mm-hmm.
And, so if I can use any bit of my knowledge to get there, that's great. But, they all have great ideas as well. And so I try my best to listen to them. If they see something that maybe I didn't see, we talk about it and whatnot. So, I certainly want them to feel that, it's their moment and it's their ship to steer. And I'm here to help them in whatever way I can. And like I said, try to give as much advice as I can in whatever areas that I can. But, I wasn't 6'3" and 220 pounds and could do certain things that some of these guys can do, and I didn't have 2 hands like some of these other kids have, so
Definitely did not have 2 hands.
No, not, I had 1 lefty point and it was an assist in college. So, Serviceable.
Yeah,
I would say serviceable.
Service. You have plenty of rating points. That's
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to make sure, that, some of these guys are watching now, they have all the ability in the world. So, every once in a while, it's nice to stick one in a warm up and just let them know.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. So not very often, but kind of often.
Casually
often. Okay, I got it.
Well, you brought something up that I've you've listened to a few podcasts that we've done. And when we talk about not really X's and O's, but we talk about recruiting and just different styles and things like that. But like, we're on the road recruiting now. You brought up you're not 6'3". You weren't 210 or like this one of these big guys that you see in these Division I programs and stuff. When you were going through recruiting, whether changing high schools and clubs and things like that, like I know that you were an undersized guy, right? What do you think was something you had to play with or something you had to do to get yourself out there to recruit as a recruit? And if you could go back to young CT getting recruited, like what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the recruiting circuit now is obviously a little bit different than when I was getting recruited. Obviously, it's not too long ago, but at that time, kids could get committed going into freshman year, all that stuff, right? So, I was a very small kid. I reclassed my freshman year. I don't think I broke 100 pounds until halfway through that year. So, but that was something that I already kind of had. I was always one of the smaller ones in my group. But at that time, it was a lot of kids that were committing still, right? And so for me, it was like one of those times where, you start to kind of question a little bit of like lacrosse. You're like, oh, these kids are committing. Like, when's going to be my moment? What should I do differently or whatever? Luckily I've had some coaches who helped me with like all that process and whatnot. And my family was great too in it. But, I always felt like for me and for all these kids, it's, you just got to focus on just getting better and doing what you can. And I always think, in my opinion, the guys who compete the hardest and are the toughest out there, all the rest kind of falls into place. And so for me, I always was like, all right, I'm small, then I'm going to be the toughest kid on the field. I'm going to go get ground balls. I'm going to ride back. I'm going to do a lot of things that it doesn't really matter necessarily size in that aspect. Like I'm going to compete every second on the field. And I'm going to work on my stick skills. I'm going to learn the game, and the rest will come with growing and all that stuff. And so, my dad always used to tell us, like me and my brother, when we would go try out for teams or whatever. And I always kind of thought about this when I was getting recruited too. Is like, do something to get noticed. Like what like again, you
Tough ground
balls, like
play.
hustle back, maybe hit a kid, celebrate with your teammates, whatever it is. Like in the sense of, don't just be out there like. Go all in. And, fortunately for me, it ended up working out, obviously, but the process is different for everyone. And so I just think if kids worry more about just playing with their team, playing with their club circuit, their high school circuit, whatever it is, and then just focus on themselves and getting better and whatnot. And don't worry too much about like what that kid's doing, what this kid's doing. It'll all work out at the end of the day. Right. So, I mean, that was kind of how it went for me. And obviously, again, it's different for everyone. So, some of my advice might not be the same for other people, but I do think that if you just focus on, getting better, then everything else is going to be fine. So
just trust your own process, right? Like just go through your own process.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you got to surround yourself with people who are kind of similar with those things, of who want to work hard, who want to do those things. So I had a bunch of friends. Some were committed at the time, some were not. But I got to play with them all the time in the summer, and we all just want to play for each other, play hard, get better, whatever it was, So we would show up to practices, we do things on the side, just enjoyed doing it. And I think that it probably helped all of us at the end of the day. But you definitely want to be around like-minded people. So
for sure.
So you were first a volunteer, then you went into the director of ops role, and now you're back to a coaching, an assistant coach. So what is like the hardest role you've had so far? Wherever it was, right? But like you've had volunteer to director of ops, now back to coach. Like what part of that was like the hardest part for you? Like what was harder?
I would say they all have had like just different challenges in themselves. And I say that in the sense of because I've been constantly learning, right? So everything's just been different. I came in as a volunteer, well, I really didn't know much, right? Like I was pretty much like a blank sheet, learning as much as I could, asking questions, just trying to absorb all that stuff, right? And then going to the director of ops role, now being around a new staff too and whatnot, was trying to do the same thing. I was trying to learn everything that I could at that time, right? And some of that stuff was some new things that I was learning, how to, work the behind the scenes part of coaching, which obviously some people don't necessarily see as much, right?
Right.
And so for me in that time, that was something that I really wanted to get better at because I didn't really have, I'd say much experience with all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was a similar kind of sense where I was like, I'm just trying to learn as best I can and, trying to apply that as I can throughout the year, and then coming back, and now being a full-time assistant, that to me is also a different challenge where I'm constantly learning about myself as a coach and, and trying to find new ways to apply drills and practice plan and scout and whatever it is, just trying to keep changing and keep getting better at some things. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that was something that I thought I did okay with. And there's other times I'm like, I should probably, keep working on things to do there because I didn't really feel that smooth or whatever it is. And I was lucky enough that in all those roles, I had some great bosses and some great peers, and sets of other assistant coaches, whatever around me that they were teaching me, they were bringing me along. No one was like, just go figure it out. Like everyone was
Helpful.
yeah, they wanted me to get better with that stuff too. And so I always appreciated that. And I think I'm obviously still learning, right?
Sure.
I think I'm so young in the game right now too. And I probably know like 10% compared to a lot of these other people out there. So as much as I can be around other coaches and learn, I always think that that's a good thing for me. So, I don't think I'll ever really feel like comfortable with it. I always want to just try to find the next thing I can do.
It's also the point of it, right? Once you get comfortable, you get complacent, and then you stop learning, right?
Absolutely.
People can joke and say, you can steal a drill off YouTube, or you stole this drill, you took this drill from this, but it's all learning, right? Like that's how we, I know plenty of times in the office we've sat there and put a drill up, and it's like that's what this person does for the drill, but let's tweak it to be ours or to fit our guys or fit what we're trying to do at that point in practice. And it tests yourself, right? It tests not only yourself, but then it tests the guys in different ways. And who knows? There's been plenty of times where you put a drill out there, we go out to practice, and you just gotta scrap it because it just might not work.
This didn't work,
right? But it's all about the growth.
Yeah,
it's all about the growth.
And those moments too, like of being in the office and shop talking, or just like being around your buddies and talking shop and whatnot. Like one, it reminds you a little bit of some things that like you don't really think about sometimes. Right. Like oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Right.
But I think those are some of like the most fun times. People always, they used to chirp me in college and say that like CT only talks about lacrosse or whatnot.
You did.
I did.
Yeah, you did. Oh my God.
Absolutely. It was true. And I was just like, I enjoy sitting and talking lacrosse, whether it's, professional level, college, high school, drills, games, highlights, whatever. I just enjoy talking about all those things. And I think I've had a lot of, fun with the college coaching friends that I've made of just having moments like just sitting there, kind of, a lax rat at that time. So.
If you didn't play lacrosse in college, what would you play?
So I always thought in my mind that I would want to play hockey because obviously that was my other sport growing up, and my dad did, and me and my brother, it was probably our favorite sport. I was there our whole lives. We joined the men's league right after college. We're like, we gotta get on that. We gotta get on the men's league
for sure.
Shout out to the Eagles, 5-time champs, Foxborough, Walpole, if anyone's around. And
let's listen to the show. I like it.
I have to. Those are my guys. But I've thought about it more, and I think it would be really fun to go down and play like golf at a Southern school. At like, I'm talking of like a small school. I don't want to be a top player on the team. I just want to.
Not like a big SEC school.
No, I would want to be somewhere that no one really knows about, and I would not want to be a top player on the team. But I get to golf every single day down south. I think that would be amazing. So that would
a lot
be
of people's answers.
Yeah, I feel like that's a majority of
today.
Yeah, anybody, especially in New England.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm like free golf.
Yeah,
why not? Might as well. So
maybe not free, but like, yeah, concept's there.
yeah, fair.
I still got to pay tuition.
Yeah, tuition.
You brought up something right, real quick that I wanted to kind of talk about because I feel like the three of us shared the same experience, right? Like George went off to college, went to Dowling. I was in his wake, and I went to Dowling, played with my brother. I thought it was the best 2 years of my life, right? Just being together.
Nice to hear.
And that's on film too.
Yeah, that's
so
great. That's why
you can have that forever.
Yeah, it's great.
But it was right. Like, we were at the same school. We're playing the same sport. We're on the same team. We're going through the same, stuff. Whether it's the hard practice days, good, bad classes, all of that stuff. You got to play with your brother, right? And we all know Dom and love Dom, right? But like, when you made your decision to go to Dallas or to go to not Dallas, sorry, Merrimack, like, did he have any influence? Was it all you? And then, like, once you made that decision, like, did you guys get even closer? Because I know how close you guys are, but like, what was it like playing with your brother? I want to hear your experience because we know ours. There was plenty of good days. There was plenty of fights as if we were back home.
Oh, yeah.
But like, what about you guys?
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, playing in college was awesome with my brother, but I was fortunate enough to play with him all of high school
Right.
too, middle school, obviously growing up. We're only a year apart.
Right.
So pretty much everything, in high school, played soccer, hockey, lacrosse together on the same teams. Played travel for a while until it was the time where people had to split up for
Right.
grades. And then obviously getting to go to college. And I would say he never influenced me in the sense of he told me, oh, you should follow me here. You should go do this.
Right.
It was more, I always wanted to go there. And so for me, following him and getting to play with him was always the goal. And, at some point, you don't know if it's going to be for that long. Right. And I was so pumped when I got a chance to go to Merrimack and play with him too. So I was like, I wanted to keep it going. I thought it would be awesome. And so it was great. I mean, I got to have someone there who always had like 1 year before me too. So he could kind of show me the ropes of everything, which was nice. I had a little bit of
a pay path.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of a pay.
Well, I got some insider scoop, right? So I was like, all right, like, yeah, what to do, what not to do, right? All those things. But on the field, it was like, I knew that I could always trust him on the field. He knew he could always trust me. It was fun. He was a lefty. I was a righty. So we were on the other sides of the field. And, anytime we could connect on a goal, it was awesome. I'm sure my parents loved those moments too. Right. But it was just something that I'll always, be grateful for. That I got the chance to be able to do that with him for so long too. Right. And I mean, that's something I wouldn't change for sure. Like,
what was going through your mind those last few seconds when we won a national championship? Like, and you're like, I did it, we did it, program did it, things like that, right? But like, then bringing it on a personal level about like you and your brother, you got to share that moment together, right?
It was two completely like kind of different experiences with it because, well, like my first year was in 2018 when we played Gillette, but the year before they played in Gillette as well. And he'd gotten hurt like the week leading up to the national championship. So he couldn't play at all. And so I know that killed him at the time, just not being able to be out there with his guys and, try to see it through. And so, him getting the opportunity to do that again was cool for me because I saw him on the sideline in the booth the year before. And so, but the coolest part was doing it at Gillette. And like, we would go, like, we lived like 8 minutes from Gillette. And so we would go to like every national championship Memorial Day weekend that was there growing up, mini lax in the parking lots, going to get autographs, going inside. We'd watch every game. We'd watch the semifinals on Saturday. We'd watch the D2, D3 championships on Sunday. We'd watch the championship on Monday. We would go for the whole time. And all the time. I watched Dolly. I saw Dolly out there.
Yeah.
2012. 2012. Yeah, 2012. I remember. And to go.
Did not give you a stick or anything.
No, he did not. I yelled.
Budgets. I needed it.
I understand. Listen, at the end of mine, I kept everything. So, but it was so cool because like our whole family and everyone was there, and obviously when it's game time and all that stuff, we were focused on winning the whole time and whatnot, but there was a time where at the end of the game, we got subbed out. We were sitting there, and I'll remember like sitting there with him on the sidelines, looking out and kind of being like, wow, what a cool experience this was for us.
For sure.
And so that was unbelievable. And then the next year was also unbelievable too. Doing it in Philly, different kind of stretch, whatever. But the Gillette one for sure, just, being around our family and all that stuff and kind of growing up going there.
Yeah. Kind of came full circle.
So it was one of the coolest moments of my life for sure. Just like kind of sitting there and being like, wow, I can't believe I'm playing.
Seeing it as a fan a bunch. The unfortunate part of seeing the loss, but also your brother like hurt in that, and then like getting to that spot, finally winning, doing it together, both healthy, both on the field, like things like that. Like that's got to be something that I don't know. In the soft side of all of us is like that. That's cool. Like that's something you have ever.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And now we're able to go up to my dad who won a natty at Babson, and we can tell him that we have two. So we always hold that over his head.
Well,
I'm sure he's going to be thrilled to hear that you brought that up.
Oh, he knows. We talk about it all the time. Hello, Steve-O.
So if a former, I better read this just because I'm old and it's been a long weekend. If your former teammates were describing you as a player in one sentence, what would they say? And then, like, what would they actually say though? Like, if they were describing you in one sentence, like that.
I would hope that they said that I was someone who, was selfless, played hard, and only cared about the team winning. Because that's really all I tried to do in my time when I was playing. Didn't really matter what the role was or what the situation was. I just wanted to win, and I was very lucky to play with a lot of guys that I loved to be around and were awesome teammates, some of my best friends. So it obviously makes it really easy to play for them. But at the end of the day, that was my only goal. But if they could answer honestly to it, that they'd probably say that it was hard to keep CT out of trouble sometimes on the field.
Okay.
So sometimes I was the leading penalty guy a couple of years in a row, which was, not the fan favorite of the coaches.
And you did not play defense.
That did not play defense.
Did not play defense.
No. Couple like flashes maybe on a ride.
Hey, let's see you rode hard. Rode hard.
I've never really wanted to get to a penalty mark, but sometimes when you're in those moments, it happens. But no, I would say, hopefully that they felt that I always had their best interest in mind too, because it was really fun playing with a lot of guys I got to play with. So seeing them celebrate and be pumped for all that stuff made me just as fired up. So hopefully that's what they think.
So, all right. So follow up to that question, put it now from a coaching perspective, right? Any former players that you've coached, what are they saying about you as a coach for them?
I hope a fairly similar statement would be said. I try my best to give confidence to the guys that we're coaching. Obviously got to make sure that they understand, what the goal is and how they need to play, and, how as a team we want to play and all those things. Right. Mm-hmm. So I try to find a balance in the sense of pushing them and giving them confidence and whatnot. But, for the most part, I would say I try to collaborate with them as much as I can, and not make them think that whatever I'm saying is like the only thing in the world and that's the only way to play. Because I think it's a pretty gray area game that we play, and things change all the time. And like I said, sometimes they might see something that I don't. And so, I would say I try to let them have their voice with all those things, and, and hopefully they feel confident to be able to speak and do so. And then when they get on the field, play free and not really worry as much about, what might happen or whatnot. It's just, again, you go out there and play hard, play the right way, do things that we're asking. And usually good things happen, whether the outcome is a win or a loss, we'll definitely be in a spot to potentially win the game. And I think that's kind of what your goal is, obviously, when you're getting out there. So, I think that's probably it, but some might have other opinions, obviously.
I don't think anybody has other opinions. I think you did a pretty good job. I want to touch on a little bit, and we're with each other all the time. But like when you're recruiting and you're looking to either an O guy or D guy, we recruit everybody. But when you're looking at the kids nowadays, what are you looking for that's similar to maybe back in the day when you were getting recruited, what you thought coaches wanted to see? And what are you looking for now that's like, no, this is what we need and what we want? Like, are you, I know the game has changed. I know it's been some years. Yes, you are getting old, right? But like, is there something where you're like, I did this, I know this works, like it got me to where I am as a player and now as a coach, but like, are you also, are you looking for something totally new? Like, has your style of what you view lacrosse changed? I guess you could say. Kind of an odd question, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
No, I do. I think it kind of goes back to um, like my recruiting time, like what I always thought. I played on a club team with, I would say at that time, we didn't have many commits or whatnot, but a group that, we all played the game very similarly. And with that, it was just play as a team,
Right.
play hard, compete. And I think like some of those intangibles is things that I always kind of look for. Like I want to see kids out there who are hustling. They're like playing with each other, and toughness, right? Like all those things to me are things that I think they'll be with you forever. Like
Right.
you can always hopefully help kids develop better stick skills, better shooting ability, better footwork, all those things. I mean, that's obviously kind of what we're here for, is to help with that. So, finding the other parts of it though too, I think is super important. And I think that's a lot of, what cultures from it, to find, like I was saying kind of before, like-minded guys that you're around, then all that other stuff they work on more, and so obviously everyone wants the big shooter who can sting one from deep, right? But I want to make sure that the guys that I'm looking at or whatnot are, guys who are going to be in it with you and play hard all the time consistently and do all these things. Cause, in my opinion, those guys usually continue to get better. So
Sure.
those are probably some.
Do you have a soft spot for the undersized guy?
Always, it's it's funny. I like go watch a game and sometimes I'm like, why do I keep staring at the undersized guys? But it's just funny to me because I'm like, I don't know. I think
Potential.
yeah. I mean, I think lacrosse is a sport where a lot of different builds can be successful in.
Absolutely.
So
You don't have to be like,
it's really the only sport that's like that, right? Like, I mean, you can't really.
for sure. And I think, everything has its benefits and everything has the negatives too. So it's
but I
the
feel,
build and the size vary and whatnot. So that's why I try to.
and I feel like we've all seen so much across at so many different levels that like, if you're the smaller guy, like you can still be really effective. You just might get to that spot or that goal, whatever you're doing, a little different way, right? And if you're the bigger guy, you might just have a different style. And that's why, like, I feel like it's one of the best sports and one of the best games because you really have the opportunity to be you and use what you were given. And yes, you can get a better stick, you can get better footwork, harder shot, working out, things like that. But like your size is your size, or what your attributes are your attributes, and use those really, really well, and you will find success.
Yeah.
Right? You will.
100%. I mean, again, everyone's a little different in that sense. So it's just about maximizing your potential. I think understanding what you're good at and what you need to get better at, all those things are super important. So if it's, someone who might be a little undersized or someone who's, a bigger boy, like what are things that you do well? What are things that you need to work on, and both probably look at each other and be like, oh, I wish I could do that like that guy. And I wish you could do that like that guy. But it's like, you can't. So what can you do differently? Like, what can you do to gain advantages on the field? So, I think that's a fun part about lacrosse. It's all different.
What's something that you were told that you always had to work on, right? And you're like, God, like I'm trying or I'm doing it, and you might have done it, you might have not. If I know you like I do, I think you definitely did. And then, like, what's something that you feel like you're telling the guys now? And you're like, guys, do this, or get better at this, hammer this, or whatever it is. And you can kind of think yourself as like that young guy of like, all right, you've told me enough. You know what I mean? Like now you're the one telling like, hey, you gotta, hit the wall more, stuff like that.
I mean, my easy answer is it's my left hand.
Right.
I mean, my whole life I was like two hands. I learned the fundamentals. I
Yep.
was able to do all that stuff, and then I got to high school, and I kind of stopped using my left a little bit.
You fell in love with the rule of just be really good at one.
Yeah, it's like all right, I'm gonna try to find
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to find a way to use my right
Yeah.
hand. So I stopped using my left a little bit, but I would still work on it. I would still hit the wall a little bit. I'd shoot
Right.
with it.
Just in case you need it.
Serviceable.
Yeah.
It's insurance. It's called insurance.
It's in the bag.
But I'm sure, like as most coaches probably think, like again, these players, a lot of them are different. Like everyone's a different type of player. So for me,
Absolutely.
I'm like I probably say things to kids like you need to work on your left hand, and I heard that all the time too. But maybe he's better at his left handed. I do, or he could use it more. I don't know. I wasn't very good at mine, so so that was my negative. But again, I think at the end of the day, if you're working on all that stuff, and there's other ways to do everything, right? And as you can see in the pro game
There's
in
so
college,
much more creativity.
there's two-handed players, there's one-handed players. I just think the ability to be able to do a lot of different things kind of helps you. And if you understand how to do a lot of different things, then when you're in the moment, you do whatever, right? It's like you could work on your offhand all week, and then all of a sudden you get a weird pass and you have to make a play out of it with your strong hand, and next thing you know, you're throwing a BTV, right? And so just being able to do all those things probably helps you in those moments, and then understanding when to do them. So I tell guys to work on things I think would make them better players. And again, at the end of the day, if you can do all that stuff, then you can pick and choose in a game of what you're gonna do. But
gotta have the right tools,
right? You got to be multiple.
Again, maybe do as I say, not as I did.
One of those situations.
Work on your left, guys.
Yeah. So finish your statement. You're an assistant coach when?
That's a good question. I would just say when situations happen where maybe there's like a change of plans of like travel or whatever, something happens that you can't control, whether it's weather related or a company that you're dealing with type of situation, and you have to find a way to figure it out, right? And so I think the best staffs work well together with all those things, right? And you can't control everything. And when the field randomly has a blizzard on it one day, or a bus is showing up a little bit late, or the food delivery got messed up, or whatever, things that sometimes are out of your control because there's other people doing things, how can you figure it out, right? And kind of doing that together is my thought on it. And I would say those are the moments where you're like, all right, man, this is what we got to do. Like, we're going to sit here and complain about it, or we're just going to figure out a way to get it done, make sure our guys are still good, and make sure it goes as smooth as possible. But those are some of the moments that pop up to me when I'm like, you can't plan through this stuff. At the end of the day, it's like we're worried about all these other parts of like the lacrosse game plan, whatever it is, and something happening like, oh, that's right, I got to do some other things too right now. Like, let's get it done.
Yep.
Type of thing.
You wear a lot of hats.
A lot of different hats.
Yeah. It's fun in those moments. It's chaos. You're right. So it kind of reminds you when you're back as a player and there's chaos, and you're like, all right, we got to figure it out. Let's go.
If you could steal one thing from any college lacrosse coach, not a player, a good coach, whether it's a trait or just a style or something, if you could steal from one coach, what would it be and who?
Oh, that's a good question.
Nice. We got two.
Yeah, you guys are on fire right now.
Yeah, maybe.
We're getting that.
Man, what would I steal? I don't know. I'm trying to like things that are popping out to me are coaches who maybe were have been around for like a long period of time and have made so many great relationships with coaches, and like some that have like a massive coaching tree because they were so influential on all those people, right? And so in my opinion, like those guys, and there's a ton of them out there, right? I could name a few, like Canella, By me, right? Like some
Yep.
guys
Yep.
that obviously have been in the game for a while, and so many coaches out there have learned from them or whatnot. I think it's one of the coolest things in the world to, be able to be someone who people, are kind of chasing to be like in that
Yeah,
sense.
absolutely.
It means that you had a lot of respect. It means that they enjoyed being around you all the time and
Right.
learned and wanted to keep learning and all that stuff. And so I think it's a testament to a lot of those coaches. Again, some that I probably didn't name, but at the end of the day, if I can have some sort of impact on even like a couple people, I think that would be a pretty cool trait. So,
For sure.
in my mind, those are some of the coaches that I'm like, wow, it's pretty, like, you see guys are in spots for so long, and I'm like, wow, or been around for a long time. And, the respect that they've gotten from a lot of different people, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd say that's probably one thing that pops in my mind.
That's not, I don't know if that definitely wasn't what I thought you would say. And that's a mature answer for a young Christian.
Wow.
But, I'm not I'm just saying.
That's fine.
I didn't know if it was going to be an X's and O thing or whatnot, but that's
There's a ton of X's and O's
That's a
that
deep thing.
I would like to take from other people, but it's what makes them great. And
Right.
hopefully I have some other X's and O's at some point that help me out. But that all comes, I think, with the territory. So
in terms of that maturity level, that doing something for so long,
Right.
and kind of jumping into it like that, like you just said.
yeah, no doubt.
what's a piece of advice you would give to a young guy starting to coach, whether it's, he's just started out at high school, or, maybe they're doing a little bit of club stuff on the side and they're trying to rise in ranks, whatever it is, or get deeper into it. What's a piece of advice you'd give to someone just starting out?
I would say, well, first, I think every kind of starting out spot is different for everyone.
Yeah.
You hear all these stories of coaches who, started here and then gone here and done this, then done this. So I just think it's different for everyone. But I think, a good starting point is just to hustle. Like whatever your title is or wherever you end up, like just show up, work hard, be in the office, like try to get things done. And the same thing on the road, like all these things. Just what your job is, just go all in on it. Because those are like great learning times for it, I think. And again, you're going to hear things that you like, maybe some things that you might do different at your time later on or whatnot. You don't know. So it's just be around all that stuff. And, I think also, when you're out in professional settings, introducing yourself to people and being professional. And, I think that's super important. Like you never know who you're with and who you're around and who knows who.
Never know
right?
who could be your next boss.
100%. And I just think that's like a good way to do it anyways, is just be respectful and all that stuff on the sideline. But again, you're getting into this world, and there's people been in it for a long time. There's people who are just getting in it and whatnot. And I think everyone is important in that sense. So it's like, just wherever you are, go all in on that. And I think the rest, again, like you'll meet people along the way and your paths change at some point, I'm sure. So if you're just open and willing to do all that stuff,
Right.
you'll be in a good spot. So,
I remember when I went on my first recruiting event by myself, just being on the sideline, I just felt like I was in my own little bubble, petrified to just go up and shake someone's hand, or, there might be this coach that's from some big school and you're like, should I be sitting next to you? Like, I feel like go be personal, go introduce yourself. Like you're doing the same thing as everybody else there, right? You're recruiting, you're trying to build relationships and talk and things like that. And that's only going to help you, right? It helps you speaking. It helps you just maybe you learning, maybe you can ask a question, get advice, do kind of stuff like this and just chop it up. But if I could answer my own question, my piece of advice would be just put yourself out there, right? And just be you, right? And, go shake some hands, go introduce yourself, go to a bunch of events and you'll see the kids and you might fail. You might write down a bunch of stuff and never get a kid, or you might be wrong, or I don't know. But on the side of young coach getting into it, just put yourself out there, kind of go and introduce yourself to as many people as you can, and you can only cast your net wider.
Yeah, again, you're going to be in so many settings with coaches that you've never met, or
Right.
maybe met like once or whatnot. Obviously, showcases, or
Yeah.
even when you're getting food at an event or whatever. And again, you might just meet them, right? And I also think it's equally as important to be the guy that they keep seeing on the sideline, taking notes and hustling, right?
Yeah.
Like not worrying as much about whatever like is going. Like just go to like just be there, be present, work hard, do all the right things, be respectful, all that stuff. And again, it's just one of those things. It goes with you with any job, I think. If you just
100%.
someone that you just meet like for the first time and they feel comfortable around you, and I think that's a good thing to have. So
For sure. For sure. If you, this is funny that I get to ask this one. If you got to mic up a Merrimack practice, we'll say at least on the offensive side,
Yeah.
coach, what's a phrase that your players hear you say a bunch over and over and over again?
I'm trying to think. I've been told
I have my own opinion.
Okay.
I'm curious what yours is. I'm sure I say a lot of dumb things that are constant repeats. When I was a player and would like talk to the team or whatever, and when I said that, I say no doubt a lot, which I probably said on this podcast a few times.
I don't think you said.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
we'll watch it back. Sometimes I have.
We'll watch the tape.
Or talk. I feel like that's something that I always say, where we'll just be talking offensively or whatever. Someone will say something, I'm like, no doubt, and we'll keep talking. I find myself saying that a lot, but I'm sure there's some things that I say all the time, and the guys are like, every time. I mean, like every coach has that. Like,
Oh yeah.
when you're a player, you hear it way more than if you're a coach and you're saying it, you don't really realize what I'm saying all the time.
Right.
But I would say that there's probably a couple of things that.
See, I was going to go more on the coaching side of it, not just the way word I had in my head, because I hear you say it so many times, and maybe just because it's been so long, but sits is one.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
like you saying it, the guy saying it, I just hear it so much. That's where I thought you were going to go.
Well, and I mean, we definitely say that a lot, and I can't even take credit for that, because that was something that I was around when I came in as a player at Merrimack, and I'm sure other teams use it too. But for us, it's just something that we've always kind of said in the offensive huddle, and it literally just means everyone's playing as a unit, and that no one's bigger than the person that they're playing with. And I think that us saying that all the times hopefully re-ingrains that in their minds. So I definitely say that a lot, and our guys say that a lot. So that's a good point. That's probably part of something that I say, but there's also probably some dumb phrases.
There might be one or two.
Yeah.
There might be one or two. But it's fine.
Yeah. Again,
it makes you.
I'm sure if you mic'd up most people that you hear things back. I can't believe I say that all the time.
Okay, watch tape back. Yeah. That back came up. Well, there it is again.
Yeah. I got to catch
your tally going.
Yeah. I got to catch myself back.
Awesome. Well, I think for the first time in person, this has gone awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming with us. Thanks for setting this up and things like that. It's been really cool to interview you, I guess. I see 2 feet from me every single day, but this has definitely been fun. I hope people listening enjoyed it. The young coaches, if you're listening, young players, if you're listening, a little bit of recruiting and things like that. This has been a good time, man.
No, thank you. I'm pumped. I didn't really have a choice. You guys trapped me in here.
Yeah, we did.
Drove me down here. So
yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I'm pumped to be on here, and obviously with 2 of my guys that I've been friends with for a while now, and I think it's pretty cool that you guys give a chance for people to talk, and hopefully more people come on and do that stuff too. I think everyone's experiences are different. I think that's kind of the cool part about all of it, right? So, I'm pumped to be a part of it, and excited to see all this stuff grow. So
and help us break this down now, because that was
yeah,
it's solid because it was live, but it's fine.
I think it's a little easier to break down. I was a demo guy in construction, so not as much, right? Building things, not as much.
Not as much for now.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, CT, we appreciate you. I hope everybody enjoys this one. And officially, that is a wrap on season 1.
Season 1 done.
Done.
Boom.
Nailed it.